Oh, we're just getting started, too. Year one of the Big 12 in the books, the Kevin Young era going, influences in football. We're talking about all of it. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation in Studio B. Jarom Jordan, Jason Shepard. The voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, is in the house. Greg, how you doing, man?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
How's the hockey viewing going for a Canadian-American like yourself?
Yeah, you know, I know it's been 1993 since Canada won the Cup, but if it's Edmonton doing it, does it really count?
A Calgary Flame really speaking
I'm
out
okay
there.
with Florida, even though we had to trade Matthew Tkachuk to the Panthers a couple of years ago, and he's been great for them, and it's not really been great for Calgary. I'll still go with Florida in this one. I'm actually putting my enmity for the Oilers ahead of national pride. So, yeah.
Honestly, you were the first person that I thought of when it became pretty clear that Utah was going to get an NHL team. Yeah. How excited are you to have NHL hockey like 45 minutes away?
Yeah, you know, it's very cool because that means the Flames will come to town probably a couple, 3 times a year. Cool. So I want to get to those games. I'm still a Flames guy. I mean, those are the games I watch. Clearly, I'll be tuning in to the Utah Hockey Club this year. You know, my team will still probably stay the Flames. And when they come to town, I'll try and get to 1 or 2 of those games for sure. We're just having hockey in the neighborhood is awesome. All these teams coming through town and just having the state become hockey crazy is the best thing about it.
I'm praying for Wednesday, Thursday games between coaches' shows.
Those are about, there aren't too many days we can work with.
Yeah, exactly. Not in your schedule, absolutely. Okay, let's start with some of our questions we just discussed. The position group of most influence on the football team. Argument made for the O-line. I said quarterback. Which position group do you think will influence wins the most?
Yeah, I think I'll go with O-line because everything plays off of them. I think.
Thanks for coming on the show, Greg.
Well, no,
I'm just kidding.
I really do think that it really does kind of start there. And it's not revolutionary thought, but it really impacts more of the rest of your team than any other group, I think, does. And I think last year's group, you know, they would probably say themselves was a bit of a letdown year for them. And so they're looking to bounce back. And there's some unknowns, you know, a couple of late additions to the roster. How will they pan out? Could we see a starter among those guys that came in, whether it's Isaiah or Leausa coming in? So, and does Caleb Etienne bounce back from, I think, what he would say was probably not his best year last year? So there are a lot of questions to answer. And I think if they're answered in the affirmative, good things can happen around the O-line. But if you don't have a lot of continuity or success there, it's tough to have everyone else look very good.
We are just under a month away. We'll all be down in Las Vegas for Big 12 Football Media Days. What do you anticipate will be when the preseason media poll comes out? I know everybody's got to get their votes in on what they think. I think it's actually today.
It's today.
What do you expect in the next 3 to 4 weeks when that poll comes out to where BYU will be?
Yeah, I mean, bottom half and, you know, maybe lower tier just based on what they've got coming back and how they finished last season, I think. And it's tough to blame those who placed BYU there, but let's remember that there will always be a couple of surprises in the affirmative and in the negative every year in this poll. Last year, the big positive surprise teams, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, all were 4, 5, 6, 7 spots higher than they were picked. And then you had negative surprises. Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech all underperformed. Baylor the most underperforming of the group. So there will be teams that we think will do well that won't, and teams we didn't think will do very well that really will. And that's kind of an annual thing. And you want to be that West Virginia, that Oklahoma State, that Iowa State, that high riser that nobody really saw coming. And that has to be the motivational state for BYU this year, because they're probably going to be a lower tier team just based on how things went last year.
Well, and I think then it goes back to your and my answer. I think one thing that will help BYU be one of those surprise teams is significantly improved offensive line play because of the reasons that we both mentioned, because it does affect the run game and it does affect how the quarterback plays and his protection. I think that offensive line improving is one of the biggest things that BYU can hope for in order to be one of those teams.
And beyond the O-line, and they'll certainly impact it, but you've got to, for special seasons, you need special players. And special players have to have statistically special seasons. You need those big numbers. And they weren't there last year for BYU. Those were very pedestrian numbers for your quarterback leader, your running back leader, wide receiver leader, or receiving leader. They need to be higher numbers. You need special guys to have big statistical seasons to have, generally speaking, a good year. And so hopefully that's what we see from BYU. I think it's a lot to answer at quarterback. Gary Bohannon becomes a huge unknown because of how long it's been since he's played. And, how much of a leap does Jake make from one season to the next? And then you drop down to Hillstead, and how good would he have to be to put himself in the mix right away? And then Trayson's still someone that pops in. It's going to be a really fun August and the most intriguing quarterback competition I think we've seen at BYU in years.
We've never had 4 dudes that had FBS starts in the room. You know what I mean? Which is wild. Cade Finnegan almost is a 5th. Right, playing a lot against BYU back in 2020.
I don't want to leave anybody out, but those are the main guys that come to mind of who will be in the mix.
Those are kind of the top 5, yeah, for sure. Okay, the media days, the vibe's going to be interesting because you have 4 new teams in the league, obviously. One of them is coached by Deion Sanders. In comes Utah, who's won the Pac-12 the last 2 years. The vibe is, hey, the fan base at least thinks they're going to come in and dominate this league. What's kind of the energy that you think will come out of football media days when, yes, we're talking a lot of men's hoops, but suddenly we'll turn the page and fall camp will be there, of what's Vegas going to be like with this new league?
You only see 60% of your opponents in a season. And so you're in the Big 12, which is actually 16, but you're going to skip 6 teams. So there's a lot of the league that we're going to hear from and hear and talk about that won't impact BYU in that given year. And if the league gets bigger, and there's every indication there's another shift coming, when you're in the league, how often do you see your league mates? That's I think the interesting thing is that, yeah, you're all together, but you're not all seeing each other every year. Now, there'll be a few teams BYU sees every year, Utah primarily, and you may even see the Arizona schools as kind of a yearly geographical fit, if not Colorado. But, I think the vibe is such that things are getting so big now. Yes, you're a conglomeration, but you're also just so massive now. How unified do you feel year to year? Yeah.
So our other topic in trending was about basketball, and obviously everybody's super excited about this basketball team off of last year, and then all of the off-season moves from the coaching hires to some of the guys that are coming in. We still have 2 spots that are available, and we're still kind of waiting to find out. Coach Young said last week he would like to fill both spots. So Jarom and I were talking in terms of your preference for those spots. Would you prefer a shooter/scorer, or would you prefer some size in the post?
Where did you guys come down on that?
We both went scorer.
Basically best available.
Best available, but
just the best player.
Yeah, shooting. Yeah. I think KY said Coach Young. I can't be too familiar with him. Coach Young.
Hey, this is BYU Sports Station.
You can't have enough shooters. Yeah. And so I guess I'd probably go that direction too. But yeah, and ultimately, he wants guys to come with the objective of getting to the NBA. That's an important thing. I think that'll be a byproduct. The competing in the Big 12 and competing for championships and getting into the NCAA tournament, all those things which are more important, I think, for BYU fans than seeing their players that are in the NBA. The NBA thing will be a byproduct and vice versa. If you're getting guys that are good enough to be thought of that way, then you're going to be winning a lot of games, and you're going to be competing for championships, and you're going to be playing in the NCAA tournament. It's nice to hear, though. I do listen to a lot of Big 12 radio on Sirius XM, and the thought is that BYU went from NCAA tournament caliber program to NCAA tournament caliber program, despite losing a coach and a bunch of players in the process. And that's a pretty good thing to see because, there could have been a massive reset. There could have been just a huge step back if things weren't handled the right way. But they were handled the right way. And everyone still thinks of BYU now as, tournament team again, which is pretty cool.
And the ambition level and the attempts in recruiting in this coaching staff are unlike anything we've seen. How would you summarize first? Tomorrow marks 8 weeks since Kevin Young's hire, which feels like it just blazed by.
Yeah, it's the brave new world for BYU and the rest of college athletics, really. But how you go and bring in players, from bringing in classes of players to bringing in individuals for that time and that moment and that season. That's been the biggest shift. We've been used to in years past of bringing in a freshman class, seeing them grow up, and stay the 4, 5, 6 years with missions and then leave at that. And senior night becomes this culmination of such a long process. Well, senior nights are bound to feel a little bit different for a lot of players moving forward. Now, there will still be guys like, hopefully Dallin finishes it out all the way, and same thing for Richie and even Foose. But I think more and more you're going to be seeing guys that maybe don't have that long tenure, but come in for that moment. And that the resources are there to commit to players for a moment or for a season and to get the most out of that team in that particular moment. That's, I think, a new feel for not just BYU, but everybody.
While we're summing things up, now that the BYU athletic season is officially complete, year one in the Big 12 is done. When you look back on year one in the Big 12 conference, what do you think? What stands out to you?
Yeah, I would say generally very competitive in all in all ways. Yes, a couple of sports didn't perform as well as others, but I thought they didn't look out of place at all. And the fact that you can take one of your marquee sports in BYU men's basketball and put them in the NCAA tournament in the first year in that league was a huge feather in the cap. There were competitions. There were competing for championships. There were deep runs. We see soccer there getting to the Final Four. There was a lot to like about year one. And, it's a process. And I think as we've seen with Utah and the Pac-12 when they initially went there, it does take time. It doesn't all happen at once. But when you get the flywheel going, things really begin to generate. And I think that's what you hope to see long-term with BYU is to become that flywheel program, and you really get rolling.
It's rolling in many sports, which is super exciting. And in some of the sports that struggled, now they know what it takes. So year two, looking forward to that. Greg, we appreciate the time, man.
Anytime. You know where to find me.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Yeah.